Life is, after all, one big experiment, one big game of confusion that you play until you remember that you are the creators of the illusion that you created and chose to participate in. Yes, you are the creators of this reality, although it is an illusion and not the truth of who you are. You may be wondering, why did you choose to coexist in this illusion and false construct of reality, if indeed that is not the truth of who you are? Why would you choose a life of forgetting your own greatness and your own supernatural powers of creation? Why would you choose to live in a box that you created that keeps you from living in your full potential? Why have you chosen this limited concept of reality? You chose to forget so that you could remember again on the earth plane and bridge the gap between heaven and earth and welcome the new age. Welcome to Divinely Human, a podcast for starseeds, lightworkers, and those seeking to remember the truth of who they are. I'm your host, Sarah Asher Rose, therapist, channel, and guide for those awakening their divine path. Here, your humanity is sacred, your voice is welcome, and your remembering begins. Let's dive in. This episode is called The Return to Remember, and it's about exactly that, remembering the truth that you've always known but have temporarily forgotten. So last week I shared a part of my own story about feeling unseen and doubting my light and how healing my humanity helped me feel closer and more connected to my divinity. But this week, I'd like to go a little deeper with you, not into another personal story, but into a collective message that I've actually channeled. Because the truth is, more and more, we are discovering that we chose this human experience. We chose to forget, not because we're not enough, not because we're brave, but our humanity serves the purpose of remembering our connection here on earth. But yes, you are brave enough to come here to earth, brave enough to forget you are the all, to forget you are the light, and brave enough to find it again. And there are so many of you, so many of us who are waking up right now, and we're feeling that calling inside of us that we are more, that there is something more beyond just everyday doing, and sensing that what we can see just with our physical eyes isn't the whole picture. So if you've been feeling lost or disconnected and searching for something more, maybe it's not that something is wrong with you, but maybe it's that you're right on time to discover that something more within yourself. Because remembering really isn't about learning something new. You have all the answers inside of you. It's actually about, unraveling those stories that made you forget, peeling away the illusions that told you you were small, you were separate, you were not good enough. So that's what today's channel message is all about. I have what I call a galactic library full of writings that I received from Source. And this writing came in loving and direct and as a message actually for this new age that we're stepping into. So before I read it, I'd like you to take a deep breath with me. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your heart open and expand. Just listen to the words, because channel writing often is a portal. It creates an expansion in your mind and your heart, and just let these words wash over you like a wave of beautiful remembrance. Returning to remember. This is the new age and the return to knowing your divine truth. God and the wisdom of all of creation is within you. This is who you really are. You are divine beings of light, connected to a larger part of the wholeness of creation. You are all little lights that make up the sun, the one great sun being the center of all that is. You are all just living, breathing parts of that larger whole, making up a part of a human creation experiment called life. Yes, that is right. Life is, after all, one big experiment, one big game of confusion that you play until you remember that you are the creators of the illusion that you created and chose to participate in. Yes, you are the creators of this reality, although it is an illusion and not the truth of who you are. You may be wondering, why did you choose to coexist in this illusion and false construct of reality, if indeed that is not the truth of who you are? Why would you choose a life of forgetting your own greatness and your own supernatural powers of creation? Why would you choose to live in a box that you created that keeps you from living in your full potential? Why have you chosen this limited concept of reality? You chose to forget so that you could remember again on the earth plane and bridge the gap between heaven and earth and welcome the new age. When you remember who you are on earth, you are reclaiming your divine truth in physical reality. The reclamation of your divine truth on a physical timeline is known as ascension, or what we are calling the return to remember. In your return to remembering, you are now uncovering the truth. This truth is something you had access to as divine humans, and that has been distorted and kept from you. However, it is now your time to remember. We would like for you to remember now that you are an infinite creator being. That is the truth of who you are. The light of who you are is so vast. There is not one container large enough to contain the light that is you. The Creator embodies the same characteristic. Understand that you are God. There is no attribute of God that you do not possess because you are that. There is nothing too large to house the essence, spirit, or force of infinite love that you call God. To assign human attributes to this infinite, expansive source of creation is to define it, and thus to limit it. Those who seek to define and say God's name are limiting that which can never be limited, for you cannot know God from the mind of definition and contemplation. The energy of God is too large for any container to live. You cannot know God from the human mind. In the moment you seek to know the unknowable, you create a limitation for what is possible within you. In the new age, you will come to remember the God within from experience. You will no longer separate God from you because you will return to remember that you are that. This is the truth. There is only light and the return to remembering that light. This is the cycle of return that has brought you into this present state of being. Let us further explain to you what we mean by the return to remembering and the cycle of return. These ideas can be complex and feel a bit out of sorts from what you previously may have heard about incarnation on Earth and why you are here. Presently, the consciousness of Earth is evolving into a state of being in which humanity is coming to know and accept their divinity. It may not feel or always seem this way to you now, but alas, this is the world of earthly illusion, where illusion is made possible for the purpose of awakening to that illusion. Everything on your planet, everything in the galaxy, in the entire universe, has a beautifully, brilliantly designed function that is not rooted in chaos, but rather in the brilliance of form and function. Everything is created and designed with purpose. There is not a question without an answer or a peg without a hole. The illusion is that the answer is always given when you want it, and the thing you are looking for to complete you is not always what you think it is. Understand that What seems to be operating in chaos is in fact in alignment with your highest purpose. There is an assumption that you have come here to learn, and that Earth is a school, and you have been assigned lessons so that your soul may grow from these lessons. This idea is rooted in truth, while only partially true. You have not come here to learn, you have come to remember. The idea of learning implies that there is something, dear one, that you do not know. What if we told you that as part of the divine collective and oneness of Source, there is not one thing that you do not know? In your true nature, you are not only part of the source of all that is, but you are also that source. In your truest nature, you are absolute brilliance. You are pure light. You are an entire operating system of universal wisdom and knowledge. This is in fact who you really are. So, in being this magnificent creature of pure wisdom and light, there is not one way in which you are flawed, and not one way in which you are lacking. You are of the all, and you are all that is. In being part of the all, you have chosen to separate from the all, to return to experiencing who you are. This is what we mean by returning to remember. Not only have you chosen to forget, dear one, but you have lowered your frequency and your vibration so you could take on the challenges that serve to recreate your divinity on earth. You may be asking, why would I choose to do such a thing? Why would I not only willingly forget my divinity, but lower my vibration to go through trials, tribulations, and struggle? Why not just stay in the perfection of oneness? And we are so glad that you asked that question, for there is an answer. The reason why you have chosen to forget is because, as an incarnate on earth, your main purpose here is to recreate yourself as the light in physical reality, and to embody an aspect of light in physical form. Which aspect of the light you choose to embody is part of your individual path. That is the reason why you are given duality. I'd like you now to take a moment to pause. After listening to this transmission, you might want to place your hands on your heart and just breathe, remembering that you are the light, you are the sun, and you are the one you've been waiting for. Here's a reflection for you this week. Where in your life have you forgotten who you are? And what would it look like to return to your truth gently, without judgment? If you'd like, you can journal on this or simply sit with it in your heart. Remember, this journey is not about being perfect, it's about coming home. Thank you, dear ones, for being here. Thank you for remembering with me. If this episode spoke to your soul, I'd love for you to share it or leave a review if it helps others find their way home too. And in next week's episode, I'll be guiding you through a gentle light language activation, a meditative healing experience to help you clear what's no longer yours and reconnect to your inner light. This is one of my favorite tools to awaken divine remembrance in the body and not just in the mind. Until next time, keep shining your light and remembering that you are divinely human. Thank you for listening to Divinely Human. If this episode resonated with your soul, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who's on this path of awakening. You can find more offerings, sound codes, and soul support at sarahasherose.com or on Instagram at sarahasherose. Until next time, stay open, stay soft, and stay divinely human.